folks. Before we go on, I just want to check on some sports stats, keep myself sharp here on the sports, and I'll use my computer and just go in here, and I'm going to check. Okay.
New hat alert. Welcome
hat
to
alert.
Too Much Dip live stream. Dylan, man, how are you feeling about that hat? It's a Dylan John. People don't know that. This is a Dylan John.
This is a Dylan John. I can't claim the style as it's kind of a popular format of hat, but this is my baby, and I absolutely love it. I love the way it turned out. And next week, probably Tuesday-ish, it will be available at washmedia.shop. You can have one of your very own. There's also one behind you, Dave. I don't know if you noticed that.
It did.
Easter egg.
It looks good back there. Yeah, I was just going to let the people notice, but this is normally your spot. This is your spot. I'm at the studio today because a couple things. The audio at my home last week was atrocious. I had no idea. I think the mic got switched off. And second, my son he's just on one, man. And I got the thing you don't want. And I was talking to my sister about it, and she was like, yeah, they talk about the terrible twos, but just wait till he's 3. It's a lot worse. And I was like, okay, well, he's not even 2 yet. So we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but yeah, things are looking good. So I decided to just come to the studio. We're going to do this thing. I got the door locked. If we get out of here in time, I'm going to go down to Terry Black's. I'm going to get some barbecue by myself. I'm going to have a cold beer, and we're going to have ourselves a time. How's that sound?
I love it.
Great, Dave.
Very cool.
I love it. A couple questions, one follow-up, and then a question for you fine fellas. Follow-up first. Any truth to the rumors that you guys did not want to announce that hat prior to the midterms?
You're gonna have to explain that one to me, KJ.
Wait, hold on.
There were just rumors about you guys not wanting to announce prior to the midterms. Just wanted to see if there's any, truthfulness. It does seem like the announcement did come after the midterms. So I just was worried if you guys were concerned with like the impact the hat might have on the market or something. Okay. It's all right. You can next question.
No.
Dylan didn't vote.
Don't believe Dylan didn't vote. We're not. I early voted. We're not going to do that. You're not even registered to vote, Dave.
That's not true. No, the funniest thing was on the pod Wednesday. I came out, I got the intro on circling back, and I was like, "Hey, Randy didn't vote." Like expecting Randy to have more pushback, and he just didn't even like put up a fight. He was just like he shrugged. I'm wondering if. I don't know. I want to.
He didn't vote. No, he actually didn't. He did make an attempt, but he saw that the line was really long, so he decided to just hightail it back home and save himself 2 hours.
Well, good for him. Next question. I received a comment while on a work meeting that it looked like I was joining the meeting from the inside of a golf ball. That I had not considered, but I cannot get that out of my brain. It's been living rent free all week. So, I don't have the energy or the effort to readjust this scene. But I may like add some features to, maybe like I don't know, what's that, Jive Live? Like what's the super edgy Instagram golf ball brand?
Vice.
There you go. I knew it was some like media brand name. Maybe I'll just get them to sponsor my wall.
I'm strictly Strixon. Everybody knows that. Looks
like
the
thing about Kirkland balls, right?
Yeah, it does. That's like a locker room tile wall or flooring.
Fair. I think David called it backsplash the first time he saw it, but whatever.
I'm not good at home goods, things of that nature. Can I give a shout out to our good friends at DraftKings?
Please.
This one's for NBA fans. As you know, the wait is over. Basketball is back. So tip off the season with DraftKings Sportsbook, today's video sponsor and an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA bet and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. With same-game parlays, you can combine multiple bets from the same game to give yourself a shot at even bigger winnings all season long. For those in a state where sports betting is not yet available, don't forget about DraftKings Daily Fantasy, where they have been innovating even more ways to win some cash this basketball season. DraftKings has been around for a while, so you know the funds are safe and they can be withdrawn whenever, wherever you want. We got Mavs Wizards right now. I was almost going to big boy stack that later. Yeah, a little late. It's fine. I won't do basketball. I'm not good at it either way. Fade me. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code WASHED and make any $5 bet this week and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code WASHED. All right. Let's get into it. Let's bring on our guest. He's a man who I've never met formally, but we follow each other on Twitter, and I enjoy his tweets. He knows everything that goes down in Norman, Oklahoma. From Soonerscoop.com, 107.7 The Franchise OKC. It's Eddie Radosevich.
Radosevich, I think, Dave.
Fuck.
We even rehearsed it, man.
Hold on. Let me unmute Eddie. There we go. We lost Eddie's mic. He disconnected on his end. So.
He had good audio in the thing. We'll get this back.
We crushed his intro and everying.
I can redo it. Eddie Radosevich.
Let me do this. Now
kick him out and we'll bring him back in.
Okay. I'm gonna kick you out. You're gonna have to rejoin from the link. We'll try that again.
Oh, man.
We'll try that again. The people who hear this tomorrow will never know.
It's called a live stream, Dave. It just goes live, man.
I should have asked about that because I saw that it was muted before we went back to the green room. All right, let's try this one more time. David?
Ladies and gentlemen, from Twitter, Eddie Radosevich.
That was perfect. That was
there
perfect.
We go.
We got it. We got it that time. What's going on, fellas?
We're a real media company, I swear, Eddie.
No, believe me, I work with terrible technology every morning, so it's completely fine.
Well, welcome, man. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
I would say our experience led us to be able to troubleshoot that so quickly. Had we not been frozen out in similar settings in the past, we probably wouldn't have known to remove you and add you. But
no, it's great.
Grateful for you joining us there.
No, I appreciate it. When you're covering an Oklahoma football team like the way that they've been playing this season, I'm used to things hitting the fan. So I'm more than ready to go. Yeah.
Oh man. We got to ask you to give a shout out to our boy T-Man, who was 100% a Sooner Scoop subscriber. I'm sure he's watching from home. Say what's up to T-Man.
I'm sure that he is somewhat mentally ill if he can put up with everybody on the Crimson Corner, but I think that's just the way that goes. Shout out to T-Man. Thank you for coming. Thank you for voicing, and it's been a season, boys. It's been a season.
It has. How was the Sooner Scoop contingent handled the flip of Colton? Is it Basic or Basic? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Basic.
Basic.
I mean,
okay.
It was one of those things that people knew for a while, and I think that one of our recruiting publishers, Josh McQuestion, said it best when he basically said that Colton committing to Oklahoma was probably more surprising than him decommitting. It had kind of been on the wall there for a while, and especially after leaving the Cotton Bowl and the way that went down, and just being down the street at Austin Westlake. You look at all the guys that have gone to Texas over the last couple of years. His brother's going to be a senior next year at Austin Westlake.
Yeah.
His dad played at Texas. It kind of made sense. So it really usually it's a complete meltdown. Everybody loses it when Oklahoma loses a commitment, but this one, everybody was kind of, I think, prepared in a way. So it wasn't, I guess, too bad. But obviously, just from their recruiting class, it stings. Dropped them out of the top 5. And, all things considered, 5-4, if you would have told Oklahoma fans they were going to be 5-4 back in August and they were going to lose basically 2 commitments out of the 2023 class, maybe a third with Anthony Evans and kind of his indecision there with Georgia kind of, getting him in for an unofficial last week and all that. But everything, it's kind of calmed down in a way, even though that everything else is kind of a dumpster right now when it comes to Oklahoma football.
Am I seeing this correctly? Is that the Roy Williams tackling Chris Sims over your shoulder there?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
It is it's a staple here.
Gorgeous.
But
Yeah, quite a play.
Love the Cotton Bowl. It was probably one of the more unenjoyable experiences I've been through this season, just from the on-field performance. But it was awesome. I mean, there's nothing like OU Texas. I tell anybody that hasn't ever gone, it's like that's just one of those things. If you love college football, you got to go do it at some point.
Eddie,
of course, down here I call it Texas OU, but yes, I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, I know.
Quite a scene.
When you get over the Red River, it's OU Texas,
Texas
OU down there. I get it. I completely get it.
Hey, two things. First of all, let me make it about myself. Coach Vosick was like my 7th and 8th grade Duncanville junior high football coach. So he got to see me spare it up quite a bit. Probably got numerous concussions, weren't treated properly. That's fine. Doesn't matter. I wasn't good. I was smaller than everybody. That's why I started playing golf in high school.
That's right.
Second, Eddie, what is your go-to, assuming you were on the ground in Dallas for Texas OU Texas, what's your go-to bar? Are you a Barley House guy?
I have done the Barley House. Usually it's basically, and this is my favorite part about going down to the DFW Metroplex is I don't make any decisions. So it's just like wherever the friends are going. I think we went to it wasn't a bar, but went to Javier's to eat this OU Texas and then just went out around like Midtown. So, or is that uptown, whatever side of town that is. I know it's not downtown, but no, it's,
Who knows?
I've always loved Barley House. There was a couple of hots. Renfield's isn't still open, is it? That used to be like back in the day, probably.
That is correct. Renfield's was a staple in the uptown area,
Damn.
but they've since, if anything, the brand that owns them and about 3 or 4 other bars has relocated another part of Dallas. So you can still find a similar vibe, but not that same 2-story setup.
For sure. Yeah. Ice House, I think, is always kind of like an OU Texas go-to, like in the middle of the afternoon when it's nice out. It seems like everybody's over there after like 2:00. Nobody goes to work or goes back to work after lunch. So I just kind of go wherever I'm told and then just know that the hangover is going to come when I get over, up at 6 a.m. to get out to the Cotton Bowl.
I like to show up dead-eyed at the Barley House and be like 12 years older than the oldest person there and just like be asked to leave.
Absolutely. Make it real awkward for everybody else except for you.
One more Texas OU question for you. Gun to your head, you have one quarterback for the next 4 years. Is it Jackson Arnold or is it Arch Manning? Go.
It's a great question. I've never seen Arch in person, but I have seen Jackson Arnold play 3 times this year. And, he's obviously on one of the better teams in the state of Texas down at Denton Guyer. I think he is electric. I think he's really, really good. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that can come in and start as a freshman next year. That'll be kind of interesting once he gets to Norman and once he goes through spring ball. But Jackson Arnold's about as good as a high school quarterback as I've seen. He can do just about everything. Has a strong arm, has great touch on the ball. He's kind of, I guess, sneaky fast for like, you just don't expect it. And then he pops off like 50, 60-yard run. Saw him do that against Allen a couple weeks ago. So I don't know. I guess I'm kind of sidestepping the question. I think Jackson Arnold's really, really damn good. I'm not one of those people, though, on the north side of the Red River that just thinks Arch Manning sucks by any means. It will be kind of interesting to see, like, how long Quinn stays around. How long is Arch going to have to wait? I would expect maybe one more year, obviously. But I don't know. Gun to my head, I might go Jackson Arnold just because of the intangibles that are there. He's kind of quiet but confident in a kind of a sneaky, I don't know, not sneaky way, but I like everything that he has as far as intangibles, the way that he handles interviews, that kind of stuff. I know that doesn't mean, shit when you get out onto the field, but I think he's really, really good. And he's going to be kind of, I think, as everybody looks to 2022 and obviously 2023 and down the road, he's going to be the guy in Norman. He has a great relationship with Jeff Lebby, kind of runs a similar offense at Denton Guyer. I love guys that come from programs that just kind of, they know they get it. They're able to win at a high level. So I don't think that the bright, the lights of Norman will really affect him too much once he gets to that stage. He's kind of used to it being in the spectacle that is Texas high school football.
Not going to turn this into a Texas high school football podcast, but Denton Guyer, did they not steamroll Allen a couple weeks ago? Like that was like an absolute clubbing. Okay, good.
Yeah, Allen's
yeah, that's a very talented team. I'm pretty sure.
Geyer's unbelievable. They got all 4 of the guys in their secondary are going to go Power 5, Division 1. Peyton Bowen might be the best high school player I've flat out have seen all high school year, all season. He's about as of a sure thing at safety as you can get. So, he's obviously committed to Notre Dame. Oklahoma's in on him. A&M's in on him. I think he's going to be making the trip to Texas as an unofficial this weekend with his little brother Eli, who starts at cornerback. They're
Eli.
extremely good. Yeah, they're related to the Mannings.
Very cute.
He's got to play with Arch then, right? I mean, it just has to happen.
I don't know if Texas is he's taking an unofficial this weekend. He went up to, I think, Oregon a couple weeks ago. He went to Notre Dame. It's going to be really interesting. Obviously, he went up to South Bend last weekend when they beat up on Clemson. So it was a perfect weekend for him to take a trip. There's been a lot of people in the recruiting world that think that, at some point he was going to end up either at OU or A&M. It'll be really interesting. I think Peyton Bowen is just unbelievable football player. And yeah, Denton Geyers as a team is unbelievable, which
loaded.
They're loaded. And then you look at the state high school rankings in the state of Texas, and I think they're number 5 or number 6 in that top class, which, North Shore and Duncanville and those guys are just insane. Allen's a little bit down right now, but I think they're kind of young. They're going through some growing problems.
How could a program not survive being led by Chad Morris and then, go on to not just do fantastic things?
Chad was just at home with his family. He's at home with his family eating dinner. Didn't expect to stray.
Chad Morris already won at life. I mean, when you get a buyout, any coach that gets a buyout right now, I consider that winning. I just want to be hired somewhere as a Division I head coach, and then they can fire me an hour later. George O'Leary, my ass. Just get me out of it. Just give me the buyout. The buyout is
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule, $40 million. I can understand why he would never want to, get back into college coaching again, have to chase around 18, 19-year-old high school kids with, a little bit of an attitude.
It's funny because it's one of those things that every article you read, it's oh, this has to stop sometime. But I'm well, who benefits from this aside from the individual coaches and the agents? I'm oh yeah, every sports media company that then gets to employ all these people for 3 years at really little wage because they're already getting paid, and you get a credible analyst to be on your panel for the next 2.5 years into your coach room. I'm sure they're just, really banging at the wall saying, we've got to get this money out of the, buyouts. No, everybody's in favor of it except for maybe the schools at some point, but it's private money most of the time.
Yeah. And every person in the 12th man right now down in College Station that is about to have to dip back into their pockets to pay the $90 million or whatever it's going to be for Jimbo here over the next couple of years.
Oh, what a mess. What a mess down there.
Do you guys want to pivot hard to an AG investigation, a civil suit against the Commanders, or do we want to take a look at UFC 281 and ask the question, which combatant will be or is the one who once ejaculated to make weight?
The timely clap.
Daniel Snyder might be responsible for both.
On a yacht too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, of course. I don't have a ton on the Dan Snyder Commanders thing, but I just the tweet yesterday or I guess it wasn't a tweet. It was press release was one of the more bizarre things I've seen.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. It's so great when you have an organization that gets it wrong that many times, every time they have an opportunity. And it just blows my mind.
To clarify, or I guess to, summarize, we all know they're under investigation now, including at a federal level. But as it was kind of bubbled up, AG was going to hold a press conference today when that was reported, the Commanders put out a statement essentially saying, I can't believe they're doing this, while the guy that is out there, there's a guy out there that shot one of our players 3 months ago, and they're bringing this upon us right now. I can't believe it. See, which even Brian Robinson, the guy that was shot, was what the fuck are you doing? This is terrible. No,
interesting force field.
I love the effort. I really love that somebody wrote it, somebody else proofread it, and somebody else sent it. Like, that's tremendous.
It would be insane to work in, somebody like the Commanders front office right now, where you're basically just walking on eggshells every time that you go out there. It'd probably been like back in the day, or here a couple of years ago when they come start investigating the Phoenix Suns, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of weird shit going on right now in this front office. Wait till you hear the everything else. I mean, it just like the whole thing is so perfect though for the way that Daniel Snyder's ran that organization for the last however many years, that everything that you put out there, it's like you don't even have to check it. It's like, I don't need to check the validity. I probably believe exactly how this is going down.
What I wouldn't give for I don't know, like JD Quinn to just I don't know, have to deal with like answering questions about watching oil derricks, and that to be the hot scandal on the front of ESPN News, that you've got college players collecting a check from looking at a TV somewhere. It's absurd, like the news cycle that we have to deal with regards to like professional sports, but then thinking about how many like college scandals like bubble up and just completely disappear at this point, because everyone's like, well, NIL, and they move on. Like, unless you can like tie it to some element of like racism or like a terrible toxic like labor culture type situation, like poor treatment of your players, you're not going to get much traction right now. Or Title IX difficulties. Like, those are your top three.
Yeah, and with NIL and the way that things are going, I mean, with the way that it's being governed right now in the NCAA, which is basically very, very little. Like, you have to turn yourself in for them to even come sniffing around. Like, it is kind of like the Wild Wild West. And, obviously there's been some schools that have taken advantage of it. A&M and Miami, two of the, probably bigger proponents of NIL. Some of these other schools have started. I think Texas announced their one collective today. Oklahoma has a couple things, but like it's kind of interesting. Like, the two schools that really dipped their toes into the NIL stuff this year with Miami and A&M, they haven't got the results on the field. And that the people that have, put their money forth are starting to get a little pissed off because they're not getting any return of investment come Saturday. It has to make for some tough decisions or tough conversations, I guess, with alumni from, with Jimbo or, down at Miami with Mario Cristobal.
I think back to, and to follow up David's mention of Duncanville, think back to a coach who's in a defensive analyst position right now, who was quoted last year yelling at his booster saying, if we don't start paying these players, everything we built is going to be, for nothing. Our good friend, Gary Patterson, halfway screaming with his raspy voice. And he's right. If they don't start investing, they're not going to have anything to show for like the tremendous build that they've had. But at the same time, as you mentioned, results have to be there. So just go out and buy a coach from a much better university and program and all those things. No big deal. Not butthurt at all.
It's amazing how in the world of college football, when you start stacking wins, all of a sudden money from everywhere starts coming in. So like, you win games, you're going to get money out of the alumni. They're going to be happy, and your life's much happier as a head football coach.
Man, I can't wait for that new Gary Patterson mixtape to drop here in a couple of weeks after he beats TCU with his game
Let's
plan.
Go on tour. Oh, that's true, because he dropped a song after the SMU game last year, right? That's a good point. That's a good point.
Eddie, let me get your thoughts on this real quick. You mentioned schools like A&M and Miami who are like really giving a lot of like upfront NIL money. It seems like a lot of these players are going to schools like that and then kind of using it as like, okay, I'm a free agent before I go to college. I'm going to make all this money after year one. If I don't want to be there, and I think a lot of kids are probably going to portal out of A&M pretty quickly here since that team is kind of tanking. It's like, all right, I'm going to go get my money, spend a year in College Station, and then just kind of dip, and I'm a free agent again. I can go get another bag elsewhere and actually go to a school that I probably want to be, spend the next few years. Do you think that is at play here a little bit too?
Yeah. And I think that's going to be the most important, like the most interesting part when you get through this first, kind of full year of NIL, because there are going to be some guys. And on the flip side of that, there's going to be some guys that were promised things as freshmen that maybe didn't see the field. And then they're going to go back and say, well, now, wait a second. I was told I was going to get $500,000 by the end of my freshman year, and I've got nothing. So it's going to be really interesting to see how everybody kind of, manages this. Obviously, I think that there is going to be at some point, it's going to come back a little bit. But, this goes back to like even, there were always rumors in even Norman that like Julio Jones took a visit to OU. And I was actually in school at the time. And, there was always a rumor that somebody had given him a car while he was in Norman. It's like, hey, come to Norman. And, he drove that thing for like 5 years in Tuscaloosa. So I don't know. Like, I don't know how you come back and say, hey, we need you to wire that money back to us.
Yeah.
Now that you're not here. And I think that, that's going to be the most interesting aspect of all the transfer portal stuff here. When the portal reopens in the second week of December is there are going to be a lot of guys. And, it's going to be interesting to see because of the numbers crunch, because guys are running out of COVID eligibility. These teams are going to have to start condensing the rosters back down. And all of a sudden, there weren't very many spots last year. Or at least for guys, the guys that just entered the portal and didn't really have anywhere to go. And it's going to be interesting to see how many guys are kind of left sitting there. And are they going to have to go back to the school that they entered the portal from? Are they going to have to maybe settle for something lesser than they thought that they were going to get? And, I like everything else, and this goes into recruiting as well, that, there's going to be a lot of guys that are promised things. And, somebody that's better than them is going to jump first, get what they were offered. And then they're going to be left sitting there thinking, well, shit, what do I do now? I think that's why, there's kind of a little bit of a belief in, if you're not, that 5-star guy that a team's going to wait for, you might as well commit now and kind of get a placeholder for a spot that, might not be there in a month and a half if you're going to wait until signing day in the spring or until the early signing period begins in the second week of December.
I think that has a lot to do with why you see the additional visits after commitments, because they're not only continuing to consider for now, but they're also visits for later on.
Which is,
if my coach bails and I leave, like I would have liked to still have seen 5 places, even if I was in love with Texas from the start, committed to Texas. Sark leaves. I'd like to at least have known somewhere else before I'm locked in for a year, and then I'm looking while at Texas.
Which makes it Jackson.
Yeah. Which makes
left Texas. Now he's at Utah and he's a running back.
Which makes it even like more interesting, just as far as from like a coaching perspective and the way that they're recruiting guys is, if a kid calls you and tells you he's going to commit somewhere else, you better not burn that bridge, because in the matter of 365 days, you might be re-recruiting that kid. There's OU fans had a meltdown with David Hicks committed to A&M, and they're kind of having to circle the wagons back around, and obviously they were going to still recruit him, but I think that there's a lot of fans that are probably deleting a lot of tweets to David Hicks the morning that he committed to A&M, thinking like, hey, I know that your team that you're committed to is 3-6. You want to rethink what you did
exactly.
about a month and a half ago.
That'll be the last domino to fall for fans to understand they've got to like play the long game. Let's dive into it before the absolute atrocious uniform I see over Dylan's shoulder begins to play tonight, because it looks like you can't see right now. Looks like the Panthers are rocking an all black helmet look tonight. And as somebody who's a proponent of do what you want, it's one game, I don't care, that's an unquestionably bad look for them.
Now Michael's going to lose his mind tonight having to do this game.
Kevin Harlan took a shot at him the other day. I don't remember the full context off the top of my head, but it didn't seem like he was thinking that Al was having a very good time this year.
Hey, he's getting $1 million a game. Like, it can't be that bad. He has to check his bank account probably at the end of each quarter.
Very true. All right. With that said, let me go ahead and get this window popped up so we can dive into dip picks. Bear with me a moment. I got us here. All right. Oh, I guess I have to pivot this too.
That's okay.
All right. Here we go. Dip picks. Won't even look for the sounder. What I do want to point out, our record on the year. David's not doing so hot so far. 2-7 in big boy stacks, 27-54 already, or on the year, 33%. Myself, Dylan, and the guests, all fairly close in record and overall score. Dylan is leading the pack in big boy stacks. You're welcome. But what's notable I'm on a 3-week losing streak on my big boy stacks. Both the guest and Dylan have won 3 in a row. I think, David, you're like 1 and 2, but that's clearly the path to claw
shout
back
out
here.
Tulane. Tulane, like 6-1 against the spread.
That is true. So yeah, that's where the money is going to be made. So without further ado, let's dive into dip picks. Starting off with tonight's Thursday night football game, we've got Atlanta at Carolina in those horrible uniforms. David, start us off. Carolina's getting 2.5 at home.
Yeah, I think I like Atlanta. I'm it's more just kind of rooting for Mariota. I don't know why. I've always had a soft spot for him. And I like the redemption arc. So give me Atlanta.
KJ, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Those unis are sick. And I get a chance to fade Dave. I'm going to take that all day long. I'm on Carolina.
I love that they've been fighting for their new or for their interim coach and all of that. I just still struggle to get past the whole Ray Caruth thing. Give me Atlanta.
Okay. It was a long time ago.
Oh, my God.
Eddie, let me fix this. Sorry.
No problem.
It's a very long time ago.
That's a great pull. Great pull. Oh, Ray Caruth. I'm kind of, if you would have told me that Marcus Mariota was going to be like, I think 9th in the league right now in QBR, when they made that move and traded Matt Ryan, and you thought that they were just basically going to tank, I would have been surprised. I've been surprised by the play that Atlanta's had here over the last couple of weeks. All of a sudden you look up, they're tied for first in a terrible NFC South. Unfortunately, I have watched Carolina probably too much than you should watch a 2-7 team because of the demise of Baker Mayfield out there. So I don't know, kind of the way that he's gotten screwed over, although he's been awful. I'll be the first to admit that. I like Atlanta on the road tonight to go in there and get a win and all of a sudden be 500, which is extremely weird to say.
I saw PJ Walker's getting the start, even though Baker came in, threw a couple touchdown passes late last week. So, interesting.
The Matt Rule effect.
A few big games this week in college. I suppose none bigger than Alabama at Ole Miss. Just 2 fantastic teams I've said nothing negative about, even though one might be a pretender. Ole Miss is getting 11.5 at home and a 2:30 kick. Dylan.
Yeah, that's a big spread. Ole Miss getting 11.5 at home. I think Alabama wins this game, but I don't see them running away with it. I think it's going to be relatively close. So I'll take Ole Miss and the points.
Give me Ole Miss. I don't think that Alabama's some sleeping dragon this year that, oh my gosh, they lost another game and they're going to come roaring back or whatever the justification is for all these points. Unless Jackson Dart's hurt or something of substance for Ole Miss, give me Ole Miss. Eddie.
Got it. I hate to go against you guys, but this seems like a perfect spot for Nick Saban. It seems like a perfect spot for Alabama, even though this isn't an Alabama team that I think everybody's been used to with the Crimson Tide over the last couple of years. As bad as things are in Tuscaloosa, they've lost 2 games by 4 points on basically the 2 final plays of each game. I like Alabama to go into the Grove and win and cover this weekend. It just seems like a perfect spot for Alabama, and I think that gap between Alabama and Ole Miss in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, is still that much greater. So give me Alabama.
Fair, David.
Ooh, man, with all due respects to Will DeFreeze, who is watching at home right now, who is ground floor Bama guy. Everybody knows that. He identified them last season before the season started as a real contender. I'm running with Ole Miss. I'm glad we're not going 4 for 4, but that's a lot of points. Maybe it's working with Brett Merriman. I know more about Ole Miss than like the teams that I actually follow. So give me Ole Miss.
He is a committed Siga.
Saban loves this shit. Everybody's doubting him. Greg McElroy's saying that the dynasty's over. It's perfect for Alabama.
Aflac Duck is talking shit about him, like just everywhere.
Yeah.
The biggest game in the state, without question. Number 4, TCU at number 18, Texas. Still no believers In the Horned Frogs, Texas is favored by 7 at home. ABC's finally getting another decent game. I shouldn't say finally in another, but 2 weeks in a row with a decent game. I'm up. Everybody knows with every bit of my heart, this is not the time that I'm going to ride with Gary Patterson. I will stick with TCU cover. Although I do think this is where they're where they get their first loss on the year. I'll say that much. Eddie.
I would agree. I love TCU in this game, getting the points. This is a perfect spot for Texas. It feels like TCU's basically played with fire all year. You got to give them credit for finding ways in the fourth quarter. I think Max Duggan's going to have some plays over the top. They're going to be able to score some points. Quinn Ewers, he just hasn't been that good since beating Oklahoma. Coming back from the injury, I think he's only completing like 50% of his passes. The big thing is I think only like 6.5 yards per completion, which is way down from what I think a lot of people thought Quinn Ewers is going to be. But, if this is the game that Texas is going to get back into the Big 12 title race, if this is a game that Texas is going to kind of stamp themselves to be, quote unquote, somewhat back, you have to go win this game at DKR on Saturday. I do like TCU to cover, though. I think Texas wins by a late field goal.
David.
You got the team that fades in the second half versus the team that thrives in the second half. It's going to be fun. I do think Texas wins, but I think it's a field goal game at best. Give me TCU with the points.
Do I need to ask?
This feels like an old school Big 12 game. One of those like 55 to 62 games. TCU is vulnerable against the rush. I think Texas had a great game on the ground. I mean, they got Bijan, but last game he rushed for 200 yards. I also think TCU throws for like 5,000 yards in this game. I think it's going to be very high scoring. I would pick TCU, but I also said last week I'm not picking against Texas all year, so I got Texas to cover.
That was set up too well for you to be able to fade all of us on that too.
Yeah, and I get to fade all you guys, and I will jump on that.
They need it.
Let's see. UCF, number 22, UCF at number 17, Tulane, I believe still has some New Year's Six Bowl implications. Tulane has been an absolute wagon all season. Afternoon kick, though. Eddie, you're up first. Tulane's favored by 1.5 at home.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think David said it earlier that they're like 6-1 against the spread right now. Tulane, I love Gus Malzahn. I think when he gets to the Big 12, the recruiting is going to uptick with UCF. I think that he's kind of in a perfect spot and kind of a little bit of a bounce back spot after getting pushed out of Auburn. But I don't know. I like Willie Fritch. I think he's a great football coach. I love how tough that they are. Give me Tulane to cover at home and kind of continue a storybook year for the Green Wave.
David.
Even though he didn't respond to my text asking for picks, I'm riding with the Fighting Dan Regesters. I'm going UCF. Tulane got me. I got Tulane last week. I don't feel great about it, but I am riding. I'm riding with UCF. I think this is gonna be a fun game. These games are usually fun.
Dylan.
Republicans wanted a red wave. We're going with the green wave this week, baby. I'm on Tulane.
What a stretch.
Okay.
Absolute stretch. Not enough people talk about my college girlfriend that was a rower who transferred from UCF, and for good reason. I'll go with Tulane. All I need to say about that.
Why would we talk about that?
You shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. She was not noteworthy. She's very sweet. I shouldn't say that. She's very kind.
I bet the lag game was stupid.
Dwight Howard.
From the rowing.
Right.
Number 15, North Carolina at Wake Forest. Question mark on who's the favorite here. Who's up? David, you're up first. So if you know, go ahead and lead with it.
Oh, it's Wake. It's Wake Forest. Sorry. Okay.
All good. All good.
And I am riding with Wake Forest. I don't know. I have no confidence in Mac Brown. Haven't for a long time.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah, that's right.
The line has moved to 4. I will update that. Wake Forest is favored by 4. Do you want to stick with Wake Forest?
I've already talked enough shit on Mac Brown. I have to ride with it. Let's go.
Dylan.
Mac Brown has still got it. I am on UNC to cover here.
I feel like I've tried to call North Carolina frauds all season, and that they've been unimpressive. Their quarterback play's been, somewhat consistent. I'm going to go with North Carolina here to make me look dumb on the road. Eddie.
There's a lot of guys that think that Drake May should get a invite to New York City to the Heisman Trophy ceremony or whatever in December, but I think that their defense is so abysmal. They remind me a little bit of the team that I cover in Oklahoma. They are awful. I think Sam Hartman has a really good day, and Wake Forest finds a way to win the game. And I guess kind of jumble up the ACC. I don't even know what the ACC is nowadays.
Yeah, the Mid-Atlantic side of it or the Southern Central part of it, I'm not sure. Cowboys at Packers. I will let you know right now the weather will be pretty par up here in Wisconsin. Cold, but not wet or snowy. Who's up? Dylan. Packers are getting 4.5 at home.
Yeah, the Packers stink. They just absolutely stink. The Cowboys offense is looking a little bit better. We know the defense is good. I got Cowboys big by double digits in this game.
Ooh. Quick update. Line has bumped down to 4 points because of people like you all over the Cowboys, but I don't think that changes your pick. Give me Packers. I don't really have much reason. I think Aaron Rodgers is a joke. I think their wide receiving core is abysmal. There's no reason they should win, but I don't have the sense that this is the end for Matt LaFleur. Not that this year would make it so, but it certainly would put him on the hot seat at the beginning of next year if this continues on this trajectory, and I don't see that happening. Give me the Packers. Eddie.
I couldn't have said it any better. This just seems like a game that the Cowboys all week, you look at the number and you're like, why are they not favored by a touchdown? And then you look up on Sunday and they kick a field goal to win the game in the fourth quarter. Give me the Packers, but I like the Cowboys to win.
David.
We're going to exercise some demons here. This is Mike McCarthy revenge game. I'm riding with the boys. I don't think the Packers get to double digits. Defense is elite. Micah Parsons is going to have a game. Let's go.
He, in fact, does have a game to play. I agree.
Every week, it turns out.
Vikings at Bills. I don't know if there's any word on the UCL of Josh Allen. Bills are still favored by 3.5. No word if Kirk Cousins is going to be wearing his chains. But I believe the backup quarterback for the Bills is none other than, can't even think of the name, but somebody I have faith in. Give me the Bills at home. I looked at it up earlier and it's completely escaped me.
The name you're looking for?
Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum, exactly. There was a Vikings tie for some reason.
Vikings tie. He already has the relationship with Diggs. They had the play down in New Orleans, the Miracle. I love the Bills. I think the Vikings are about as fraudulent of a football team as you can possibly get. Give me the Bills. I'd give 6.5 if I could. I think the Bills win this game by a touchdown or more. Doesn't matter what quarterback.
Got it. David.
As much as I would love to say that we're gonna see Kirk Cousins getting dressed up like he's a cute little 2-year-old and his parents are putting him in some funny clothes and taking pics and posting them on their story, I don't think that's the case. I gotta ride with the Bills. Case Keenum, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Case Keenum took this whole spot start, this backup thing, and parlayed it into like an actual deal and became like a starter in the NFL. Like, can you imagine that story if Case Keenum did that? No, I'm kidding. But I do like the Bills.
Shout out Houston Cougars product. Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I want so badly to fade here. You guys have set it up perfectly for me, but I can't do it. I also think the Bills win this one fairly easily. I don't care how healthy Josh Allen is. This isn't that close.
I kind of hope we're all wrong. Really, it wouldn't matter, but
it's better content if Kirk Cousins is doing these things.
Agreed. And we get the Cook brothers playing one another. Chargers at Niners, Sunday Night Football. Niners favored by 7. Let's see, Eddie, you're up.
This one doesn't make sense to me. I guess I kind of imagine the 49ers. I'm not doubting that they're a favorite in the game. The news with Jason Verrett today. I know that the Chargers are extremely banged up, but I think that they bounce back and at least keep it close. I like the Chargers to cover on Sunday night.
I will then go to the one man here on the podcast who may have predicted this position for the Chargers. David.
Look, I've been wrong about a lot of things on this show. A lot. Pretty much everything. But one thing I was not wrong about, and I don't even really know why I said it, step back year for the Chargers. They're just taking a step back. Just like, whoa, hold on. Let's slow down. Next year, let's regroup. Patterson. Shout out Gary. Okay. Well, it's good. That's a good callback. That being said, I think the 49ers are about to emerge as like the NFC. Everybody's talking like, the Eagles for real. Like the Eagles are great, but the NFC's wide open. 49ers are, I think they're about to like really hit the gas. And I like the 49ers by 10, 12 here. So give me San Francisco.
Dylan.
I don't have a great feel for this game. Of course, the Chargers, they won last week on the last second field goal by Longhorn great Dicker, the kicker. So they got good mojo going for them right now. I'm on the Chargers to cover here.
Love it.
Dicker mojo.
Kicker University of Texas.
Give me the Niners. They're getting healthy. They're putting it together. So let's roll with it. All right, let's get us out of here. Let's do some big boy stacks. Who's got theirs ready?
Let me just explain this, Eddie. I'm hoping I told you this in the voluminous email I sent you.
Yeah, no, I'm scared. I don't know what to expect now.
You pick another game. We'll all lead off. So if you want,
it's just
whichever game you want.
Oh, okay.
DraftKings sports odds.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
We're
Sorry, that's on me. Hand up. I'll go first. I'm going up 35, northbound 35. That is McLean Stadium. Baylor Bears. Losers of 3 games, still in contention for the Big 12. Got K-State coming down there. Baylor's good. Baylor, it's been a weird season. You had the West Virginia game where what's his name's quarterback got hurt. I'm riding with the Bears. I think the Bears are about to have a game in Texas here in 3 weeks that determines who goes to the Big 12 championship. So give me the Bears.
I'm looking for their line.
2.5. They're laying 2.5.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Who else? Dylan.
I'll take it. Yeah, Dave mentioned it earlier. We also talked about it in the office today. Texas has been a first half team. TCU has been a second half team. I checked it this morning in the line. The first half line was Texas -4. It has since moved to 5.5. I think people are figuring it out. I'm still going to take Texas first half. Texas -5.5. Look, I think they get out to an early lead. It just whether or not can they hold on to that lead in the second half is what I'm worried about. But I'm gonna stick with the trend of the year, which is a strong first half for Texas.
Getting big. There it is.
Sorry, I missed it for David.
Thank you.
I'm torn. Part of me wants to look at the over-under for the Cowboys-Packers, which is set at 43. By the way, Lucas, I got your message. I'll get back to you. Second part, I'm looking at the line for Oklahoma State and Iowa State. Oklahoma State's favored by 1.5. We know they've looked abysmal, and with reasons. But I also think this is the end of the road for Matt Campbell. I don't think that team has any faith in that going any further than it already has. So with that said, I'll give myself a reason to check in on the Okies on Saturday. So I'm going to go ahead and take Oklahoma State to get it right. And I believe they are whatever they are, +1.5 or -1.5. I'm taking them either way. I'll correct it here in a second. That's where I'm at. Yeah, +1.5 at home. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that pick.
I do too. It seems like, and I saw Hunter Deckers and Iowa State play a couple weeks ago up in Ames, and they are abysmal offensively. Oklahoma State working through some things. It sounds like Rangel's going to play again. If they can just find something offensively and get to 21, it might be a first team to 21 wins that game. let's go back to the NFL for me. I love the Titans. I don't care who's playing quarterback. Malik Willis or Tannehill coming back this week. I think Denver's an awful football team, even coming off of a bye last week. Give me the Titans at home. I think they're given 2.5 this week in Nashville.
Yeah, I'll double check it there for you.
That's right.
I think you got it right. Regarding the Bronco, it's moved to 3. They're -3. You want to stick with it?
Still love it.
Anytime your team's coming off a bye and all the discussion is about your quarterback, whether or not he's going to wear a wristband, I don't think that has a lot of positives to say about your team.
I was the last person to find out that like Russell Wilson is just the worst person in the entire world with everything that's coming out of Seattle.
Careful, man. Dylan's a big Russ guy.
Oh no, my bad.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm his biggest hater. His number one hater.
When Tyler Lockett's talking shit on you, you've done something bad.
Yes.
Last and extra unsolicited rec. The line on the Chiefs-Jags is Chiefs -9.5. I'd be all over that. That's all I've got on the Chiefs. The Jags are competent, but the Chiefs aren't. No. It ain't that close. It'll be a 10-point. I'm comfortable with that. Okay. Anyways, so comfortable it's not my big boy stack. How about that? That's all I've got. Let's wrap it up and get out of here. Any last thoughts?
Eddie, where can we find you? Where can we follow you?
Twitter, obviously. And I mean, as long as Twitter's still running, it might already be shut down by the time we get done with this. But EDDIE_RADO, Eddie Rado on Twitter. That's where we, I guess, cause shenanigans. I don't know. Oh, you loses in Morgantown this weekend. I might just end up staying up there. So we'll see.
Love it.
Hey,
I appreciate
thanks for hopping on with us. Eddie.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Man.
Anytime. It's been a lot of fun.
Work. Thank you so much. Oh, I should have pit this.
His followers.
That would have been fitting. I should have hit Big Game Bob for him.
Big Game Bob.
All right. There we go.
Shout out, Bob.
All right.
I want my chips with the dip. That's all I know. I don't want my chips plain. I want my chips with the dip. So bring them dips.